So, have you ever really stopped to think about what separates a truly great leader from, well, everyone else? According to Napoleon Hill, a guy who spent decades studying the most successful people of his time, it isn't just about having a big vision or a ton of charisma. Nope, it's something way more fundamental, something internal, self-control. And for him, this one single virtue is the absolute foundation that all real leadership is built on. And this quote right here, this is the heart of the whole argument. It's powerful, it's direct, and it kind of stops you in your tracks, right? I mean, think about it. If your own inner world is just total chaos, how on earth can you expect to lead anyone else effectively? Hill presents this as basically an iron law of leadership.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to break down exactly what Hill meant by self-control. We'll look at why he calls it the keystone virtue, what happens when a leader just doesn't have it, and then we'll get into the good stuff. How to actually build it by mastering your own mind, taking on your inner enemies, and harnessing the incredible power of making a decision.
So, why a keystone? In an arch, the keystone is that one central stone right at the very top. It's the piece that locks everything else together. You pull that stone out, and the whole structure just collapses. And for Napoleon Hill, self-control plays that exact role in the architecture of leadership.
What's so interesting here is that Hill's idea of self-control goes way beyond just, not losing your temper in a meeting. For him, it's about the active, conscious command of your inner world. It's the ability to point your thoughts and your emotions towards a specific goal. And a leader who can do that doesn't just boss people around. They set this powerful example that makes people want to follow them.
And this leads us to a choice that, as Hill puts it, is brutally simple. A leader either controls their impulses or their impulses are going to control them. There's really no middle ground.
And you can see the two paths laid out so clearly here. On one side, you've got the stuff of successful leadership, self-control, a sense of justice, being decisive, and on the other side, the things that cause leaders to fail. And just look, right at the top is intemperance, which is the exact opposite of self-control. Hill saw it as this poison that leads to selfishness, terrible planning, and eventually a total loss of respect from your team.
Without that internal guidance system, a leader is just adrift. You're not steering a course, you're just reacting to whatever wave hits you next. You're driven by emotion and guesswork, and a ship like that, well, sooner or later it's going to end up on the rocks. It's inevitable.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty high stakes, right? So the big question is, how do we actually develop this keystone virtue? Well, Hill says the training ground for self-control is the one place where you have absolute, total authority, your own mind.
This is probably one of the most empowering ideas in all of Hill's work. Think about it. External stuff, other people, the economy, you can't really command any of that. But your thoughts? That's your kingdom. You are the sole ruler in that domain, and that is where all of your personal power comes from. And Hill gives us a really clear blueprint. First, you just have to accept that you have this power. Step 2, give that power a job to do. Set a definite purpose. See, a mind with a goal is too busy to get sidetracked by negativity and doubt. You have to actively feed it constructive thoughts, or destructive ones will just creep in on their own. And finally, you just practice. You make it a habit, exercising that mental muscle every single day. But as anyone who's ever tried to build a new habit knows, exercising that muscle means you're in for a fight. It's a battle against these internal forces that are constantly trying to sabotage your self-control.
Hill is crystal clear on this. The biggest threats aren't out there, they are in here. He actually calls indecision the seedling of fear. It starts out small, right? Just a little reluctance to make a choice. But that indecision starts to grow into doubt. And then doubt and indecision mix together and become this full-blown fear that just paralyzes your ability to act.
And one of the most common fears that just cripples leaders is the fear of criticism. I mean, look at these symptoms. A leader who's afraid of what people will say can't take risks, they can't express a bold vision, they can't make a firm decision. They basically become followers, not leaders, because they've handed over control of their own mind to the opinions of other people.
So what's the antidote? If indecision is the seed of fear, then the cure has to be its exact opposite, the cultivated habit of making definite, firm decisions. And listen, this isn't just some nice-sounding theory. The sheer scale of Hill's research gives this idea incredible weight. He analyzed over 25,000 documented cases of people who failed in life. And guess what he found at the top of the list of causes, over and over again? A lack of decision. To him, this was a hard fact, proven by a mountain of data. Indecision is a hallmark of failure.
And this, right here, is the Great Divide.
Hill noticed that every single high achiever he studied had the habit of reaching decisions quickly and then changing them very slowly, if at all. People who fail, they do the exact opposite. They take forever to decide, and then the second someone criticizes them, they change their mind. The ability to make a call and stick with it, that's the ultimate expression of self-control.
For a really dramatic example, just look at the founding of the United States. You had these 56 men who came together, and in the face of literally being hanged for treason, they made one of the most huge decisions in all of human history. They knew that signing that piece of paper meant it was either freedom or death. That was the ultimate act of a definite decision, and it was a decision that created a nation and changed the entire world.
Which brings us right back to the central idea. Your mind is your most precious asset. Hill urges us to treat it like it's a royal estate, to guard its gates, and to use its resources with purpose and with care. When you look at it that way, self-control isn't about restriction. It's about protecting and directing your greatest source of power. So in the end, it all comes down to this one simple but profound question. There is no middle ground. As a leader, and just as a person, you are either the master of your mind or you are its servant. Hill's whole philosophy is a challenge for you to seize the throne. The choice is yours.